Car, I'm completely broke. Car, I'm completely broke. I don't have a car, I'm completely broke. I have no dollars, no pennies, no dimes, no cents. C-E-N-T-S, no cents. And everywhere I went, people were so kind to have their dogs out today. Hopefully because it was a beautiful day today. But sometimes people put their dogs out because they know I'm a saint. So kind to have their dogs out today. Hopefully because it was a beautiful day today. But sometimes people put their dogs out because they know I'm a saint. Not a saint. I'm a sinner saved by grace. So I use that word cautiously because if you're not a Christian or you're not a person that is church going or you don't believe in God, when people say saint, people get offended because they think you are holier than thou. But what they don't know is that saint is the word. Saint is a sinner covered by the blood of Jesus, which means when you see my faults, God sees his son Jesus. I am a sinner saved by grace. That grace and that mercy cost Jesus Christ his physical life, but he was transformed and he's a spiritual being. He's God in the flesh. And so when I say I'm a saint, and the reason why we have historical saints in the past is because they were sinners saved by grace. A lot of people don't know this. And if you're not studious, smart, intelligent, intellectual, and a reader, you don't know that Guinness, Guinness, Guinness beer, was created and made by an archbishop who later became known as a saint. Because saints are sinners saved by grace. That's all we are. We're under the covering of an almighty God. We can hold our head up again, even though we should be walking around with our head down, oppressed, depressed, suppressed. We can hold our head up again. Let me turn this around because you didn't see that. You didn't see that, what I just tried to show you in demonstration. I said when we should be walking around with our head hung down, when we're covered by the blood, when we're covered by the grace, when we're covered by the mercy of God, we can hold our heads up again because we're not sinners, we are saints. We are now covered by the blood of God. The reason why I make a big deal out of a circumcised man, yes, it's first natural. First is natural. Yeah, he physically got a circumcised as a child. And the first knowledge of that is biblical and historically documented in the Old Testament as a covenant between God's children, the Israelites, and a deity, a spiritual being, which is God. That was first commanded by God of Moses, that all of the male children would be circumcised. Going to be split. A split is going to be put there to remind them that they belong to God. And it was commanded that it be done on either the 7th or the 8th day. And the reason I make a big deal out of that is because it's the separating of what's fleshly and what's spiritual. It's the separating of knowing facts from fiction. It's the separating of knowing I'm going to get a right now, connection with my and so spiritually Christ was reminding them that you're connected to me. This is a covenant between me and you. This is the shedding away of flesh. This is what it's gonna take to be connected to me, and I want you to know what's real, what's up, what's feeling, what's right. And I'm not talking about the natural. I'm talking about the natural, but it's spiritual. And so when I first moved to this city that I'm currently in, there was 2 guys that used to ride around on their motorcycles, and I would look at them and I could tell, man, that they were spiritual. I don't know what, it could have been angelic beings. They might not even been physically here, but in my mind, I physically saw them. They were like figurative figures that I saw. And I would hear the bikes coming before they would get to me, and I would watch them. And I saw them, in my spirit realm, I saw them for like 2 weeks. These guys, I just knew in my heart and in my soul and in my spirit that they were cutting down the presence of unnatural, or maybe I'm saying unnatural because if there's a good spirit and a good being, then there's an evil spirit and an evil being. And so one of them would ride with this sword-like thing in a brown leather round case, like you would put permit paperwork, or if you had a survey done on your land, you would roll that up and put it in that leather case, and it was a long round tube with a strap. And I would see him ride, and he had the bike with the big handles like this, and I would see him ride, and I said, thank you, God. I wrote it in my journal. I said, thank you, God, because I'm not a motorcycle noticing. I mean, I love all cars and vehicles, don't get me wrong, but it was like, it really swole up and stood out to me in my spirit. And I was like, Lord, they are angelic hosts. Those guys are circumcised. Them guys, I mean, yeah, when I say circumcised, and I love using that word because I feel like I'm a circumcised person. I'm becoming, women don't get circumcised. I'm not a man. In the natural realm, I don't have nothing physically to circumcise. But in the spirit realm, I'm circumcised to God. And flesh shouldn't outdo what the spirit is trying to do for me in my life. I would rather, if there's a tree with spiritual fruit and a tree with fleshly fruit, then God give me the spiritual fruit. And God wants us all to get to the point as we age and grow in grace and mercy, that we don't pick the fleshly fruit as much as we pick the spiritual fruit. We start picking, as we get older and closer to that day, that setting of the sun in our lives, we should be picking the spiritual fruit more than we pick the fleshly fruit. And so they were circumcised beings, because I used to be a girl. I've been every fade and every fad of it. I've been at 12 and 13. I was figuring myself out, learning myself. I grew up in a one parent home for a season, even though both parents were present on the weekends. My dad had me. Used to walk around in Durham. I used to walk around in Durham. I used to walk around off of Cornwallis Road and off of what was the name of the park? I can't even, Wellens Village. I used to walk around at 11 and 12 years old, just walking around with me and my sister, my cousin who's a good friend of mine, Lisa. We used to walk around, the three girls, and we would walk down to the park. Because in the city, that's what people do. The kids don't in the country, you stay in your yard. But in the city, you get to do, the city makes things more accessible. There was a bus. We rode the bus. We went to Northgate Mall. We went to South Square Mall. We walked around. We laughed. We joked. We stayed together. I remember going to a park I'd never been or seen anything to do with gangs. I was only 12, maybe 13 years old. I was in middle school. At the time, Lisa and Cope Jam was really new. A song had just came out. Wonder if I take you home, would you still be in love, baby? Because I need you tonight. Rap music was new. My daddy would buy me a stereo radio box that I would tote around every year for holiday, either birthday or Christmas. I would get a new box because I loved them. He knew that was something in my spirit that I loved. My sister was different. She liked gold jewelry and gold rings, but it was something in my spirit that I loved. My sister was different. She liked gold jewelry and gold rings, but I went through the tomboyish, and I thought, man, I'm gonna be tomboyish for it. So I was break dancing and popping and locking and spinning, and I could get down on the floor and do the bicycle or the scissors. I could do that just as good as any boy. I could do the worm on the ground, wrap it. I mean, I could really do it. And so, not anymore. I'm out of shape and fat now. But anyway, so I would walk around, and I remember we walked to a park one weekend. We got there. My dad got us there. Friday night, we spent the night with aunt and uncles, and then Saturday morning, I woke up, we walked to the park, me, my sister, my cousin. Never seen gangs. My uncle was down there because in the city, again, grown 30 to 40, 30 to 50 people who work, young black men and women, they join athletic clubs with the recreational parks. And so my uncles and them, they would play baseball or softball with the mixed teams. The mixed team is a team with boys and girls on it, or men and women on it. Then you had my aunt was playing volleyball down there. My aunt-in-law or step-aunt or whatever you want to say, my uncle's girlfriend at the time, she played volleyball, so we would go watch her. And so it was different because they were in Little Haiti or Durham or whatever you want to call it. People don't know it used to be known as Little Haiti, but it was a progressive area for African-American people. And so in the summer, we would watch my uncle play baseball. He was really good. Another uncle who played volleyball, military guys and stuff. So, another uncle. So we ended up at the park, me and my three cousins, not to get off subject. These little boys, they were about 12 or 13, some of them 16, some of them 17. We sitting in there just enjoying my sister, my cousins there, real light skin, real beautiful girls. And then there was my aunt, another aunt, her two nephews was there with us. And so all five of us are sitting there on the bleachers. And there's a softball game, volleyball, people, tennis, all this stuff in the park. We're not paying no attention. We minding our own business because it's three girls, two guys, and they're not our cousins, but their aunt is dating one of our uncles, and so we're all there. And they got on brand new Air Jordans, right? These boys come from East Durham or South Durham or whatever. I can't even remember now because I'm so much older what part of Durham, but they was walking. So one of them had like a little wood bat, the little mini bats and all this stuff. And we sitting there not paying them no mind. My cousin, she's snacking on her chips. I remember just vividly. She stood back up. She's snacking on her chips. And I don't know if she felt something that me and my sister couldn't feel because I wasn't spiritual. Now, I was raised in church and knew how to sing all the songs. But being raised in church and being spiritual is two different things. And I wish to God that people would start teaching their children. They definitely need to take their children back to church. And they definitely need to teach their children how to walk in the spirit at a young age. Because spirit should feel when something is dangerous around you. If you're walking in the spirit of God, you can tell when you need to get out of when something is unsafe. Walking in the spirit of God, you can tell when you need to get out of when something is unsafe, or when you need to get out of the arc of something, or get away from something, or move. And so she was standing up. I was sitting down. My sister was sitting down. The other two boys were sitting down. Them guys walked from where they were, and they came to over there where we were, but they were on the other end of the bleachers. All of a sudden, one of them started counting 1, 2. They got to 10, and this boy got up and punched one of my cousins in the face. Now, back then, you wore fat laces, so the Air Jordans were white, red, and black. One of the first year, I think they came out, because they were the white, red, and black ones. I'll never forget. And he had them loose because they were the high tops, and so they were loose up here with that extra piece that went around the top of them. And that boy, the youngest one. The tallest one could run. He was in sports. And he took off running because they just hauled off and punched one of them in the face. And then all of those 10 guys came around, was beating him up. And we took off running. And the youngest one tried to take off running. But they picked him up by his ankle, had him upside down, hitting his head on the pavement, and took his sneaker off from the bottom and was taking the 2 sneakers off. And had got the sneakers. My uncle, somehow or another, the oldest one, had got all the way back down to... I don't know if that was, Welland Village was behind it, but the name of those apartments, which is now, they consider them like projects, I guess. I forget the name of them. Creekmore. It's 2 sets of apartments over there. Anyway, but the one we was at, he gets all the way back down there. And somehow or another, I don't know if my uncle felt it in the spirit, but he came down on his Kawasaki, and he had a stick, and he was trying to get to him. But them guys took off running another way. My aunt's nephew had blood and stuff on his head here. It was just terrible. I had never seen that before because, again, being in the country, kids play. I knew about games from going. I knew about hearing it on TV. I knew about that it was a culture with rap music. I knew about a touch of it from my dad taking us to New York during the summer for vacation. But I never seen or been anywhere around it where it would cause somebody to do that to us. We never started nothing. We were nice people, Christians. So it was just weird. But had I been circumcised in the spirit, maybe I'd have been standing up. Or maybe I'd have felt it. Or maybe we would have known to walk away before they got over there and sat on the bleachers. And that's what I mean about being circumcised in the spirit. Now, you can walk in the spirit and still not get everything right. That's life. But you need to be more in tune. When I say at the end of the movie, and I know it sounds like I'm being worldly, but I'm not. Y'all stay with me. When I think about the movie Equalizer, and when Denzel Washington says at the end, I know it was the blood. Here's a man that was hired to be CIA op or FBI or whatever he was hired to be, and sent to do things that he probably don't agree with. I don't think anybody would want to kill anybody. I know I don't. And at the end, he's like, I know it's the blood, because he's like, I didn't kill these bad people, but I know it was the blood that saved me. And he sings that at the end of Equalizer 3. And so, you just need to be circumcised. And when I think about those two guys walking around, I said, Lord, they're cutting something in the spirit. Something that I wasn't strong enough or didn't have or embody in me that God did not yet give me or gift me with. But they can see it in the spirit realm. And so they're doing something that maybe they were angelic hosts. I can't say they were two physical people, even though they were nice looking. One of them was a chocolate drop, one of them was a caramel drop. In my spirit, that's what I saw anyway. Whether they were physically real or literally real or figuratively real, I believe I saw them, and I'm not mentally ill or crazy, even though I've had bouts with some problems. And I'll just say that I've been oppressed and depressed, ill or crazy, even though I've had bouts with some problems. And I'll just say that I've been oppressed and depressed, not to be able to get a car on my own, not to be able to get a job, not to be able to have money in my own. Things are not flowing for me like they are, like they could be. So today I walked around, and everywhere when I saw dogs outside, and I was reminded of the story, and this is originally why I got up here. I was reminded of the story of Jezebel in the Bible. And a lot of people, when they can't get a handle on you, when they can't control you, when they don't agree with you or just don't like you, they look for the most negative thing to say about you. Or when you try to put a light on an issue that is biblical and say that homosexuality is indeed wrong according to the word. I don't hate nobody. Sleep with whoever you want to sleep with. If they get your rocks off, fine. Have at it. Do your thing. Be about your business. But for me and my house, this vessel, I hope to serve the Lord. Now, with that being said, I believe it's not right. And with that being said, that's what I was taught. That's what I believe. And that's where I see. I believe a plug goes into a socket. I believe a light has a receptacle. I believe stuff has to be plugged into. And you got to have something to plug into me with. And it should be your own. Okay? So, and that's just me. So I disagree with homosexuality. And I have a right, a God-given right. I got a mouth, a tongue, a voice, some air, a brain. You don't like me and you hate me and you want to ridicule me and put me down because I don't want to stand up for the flag and you want to force me to stand up for a rainbow flag. Well, shame on you. That is reverse bullying. I do not like it. I don't agree with it, but do what you feel. I'll never hate you. I'll never come against you. I'll never cuss you out. I'll never try to kill you. I'll never tar and feather you. I'll never hang you up. I'll never do what you like. But if you're real and you believe what you're doing is right, and you believe that God has made you that way, then what I'm doing shouldn't offend you. What I'm saying, if you really believe what you believe is real, then anything I'm thinking or saying should not be offensive to you. Because then you just as hypocritical, or you do not believe what you are saying. You must not believe it in your core, in your belly. You must not believe what you are saying. I'm black, born black, dying black. I'm female, born female, dying a female. What makes me a female? I was a female when if they would have had a way to test me when I was in my mama's belly to see whether or not I was male or female, they would have looked in there and saw no kind of appendage hanging out, and they would have said, she's a female. You're going to have a girl. That has not changed. That has not changed. When they do, and when you have those special programs for your loved ones, and you have those birth parties, since y'all want to call me a Jezebel and y'all got the dogs out, when have you seen a male dog ever try to screw a male dog? Since y'all say God making mistakes, when have you seen a male dog stick his penis in a male dog? I'll wait. When have you seen a male cat screw a male cat? I'll wait. I'm waiting. But do what you want to do. Just don't try to force me to believe what you believe. And we can still be friends, hang out, have a good time. I ain't going to identify however you want to. I'm not judging. I'm not beating you up. I love you with all my heart. I've met some beautiful people who love God. Beautiful people. I don't hate them. But either we're going to throw the word away and say it's a lie, or we're going to stand on the word and say it's the truth, or do whatever you want to do. Just don't try to force me to do anything differently than what I believe, because that's what I believe. I've been believing. We're going to stand on the word and say it's the truth, or do whatever you want to do. Just don't try to force me to do anything differently than what I believe, because that's what I believe. I've been believing since I question whether or not King James cut some stuff out of the word. And I've been to the Bible Museum, but I didn't get to spend enough time in there, because they had, at the time that I went, during the pandemic, they only had like 2-hour increments. I know that there's Ethiopian Bible. I know that there are more holy books, they say, more than the King James. But in the King James, there's 66 books. And as of the time that when King James authorized it, that's what we had to go on, because that was what was legalized. So who knows what has been cut away? Who knows what scrolls didn't make it in? Who knows what scrolls have lost? But then God knows everything. So if God is real, then 66 books must be what we need, because grace is sufficient. And with that being said, who am I to argue with God? So if you believe what you're doing is right, stick with that. Be the saint that God called you to be. Just don't try to force no one and lie. My biggest argument with it is when you try to force. If you believe that God told you that God made a mistake with you, and that God is letting you walk by faith and trust you to deal with the ridicule. Look at me. I got a big nose. I had to trust God to deal with the ridicule. I have to trust God through kindergarten. I used to get beat up every living day, y'all. Physically hit and beat up every day for just being dark-skinned and big-nosed. No lie. Facts, no cap. Called ugly. Stink. Thick hair. I'm talking about viciously ridiculed. And I didn't even know why. I didn't know why people didn't like me. To the point where I fell in love with somebody light-skinned, because, I never took time to see if I was pretty or not. And I'm not beating him up. Good man, not beating him up. Good man. I made a lot of mistakes. I went in with a lot of mistakes. Because first, you should not fall in love or get married until you're whole and know who you are. And you need an education and a bank account. He had everything. I had nothing when I met him, because I left college to come home. Twice I've left college. And and I'm not saying college is the only way, but you should not be falling in love and getting married till you can secure your own bank account, got some money. Because marriage is a big thing. I'm not saying people can't do it and come up together. I'm not saying two people can't be totally bootstrapped, poor, broke, busted, and come up together. I'm not saying it's not possible. And I'm not saying that the saints of old didn't do it, but that was their season. In the 50s and 60s, people like to throw the ages back in your face. People like to throw the past back in your face. Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with the 40s, 50s, and 60s, but that was, you was doing what was customary in your season. Everybody was poor. Everybody was eating, and everybody was doing the same thing. Now we're in a different season. So when you try to tell your child, when your child comes home upset because they want just a decent pair of shoes, and you want to throw in their face, try to tell your child, when your child comes home upset because they want just a decent pair of shoes, and you want to throw in their face, nah, clean shoes. If you got to go to the thrift store and pounds to find some, I think he said it in that movie. Samuel Jackson said it in that movie about basketball. I was in school as a cheerleader. The sports teams dressed up on their game day. You came to school dressed up. You went to the next school riding on the bus dressed up. You changed your uniform in the locker room once you got there. You went dressed up. And he said, we're going to start implementing that here at this gang-written school. We're going to start implementing that you got to wear your shirt and your tie on game day. And some of the parents got mad at him. Now, here he is trying to make the best out of their kids. They got mad at him and said, you mean to tell me I ain't got no money to buy no tie? He said, there's a thrift store on every block. You can get a tie for 50 cents. So if your child is in need, that's your responsibility. Like it was my responsibility. And I failed my youngest child. I think we need a license to have children. I don't think nobody should be allowed to have a child without having a license that you've gone through some course. Okay, well, this is what it takes. Let's see if your mind is right. Let's see if you can love a child. Let's see that you know that you need to provide food for that child for 18 years and what a commitment that is. I think at this time in 2025, we need to have a license to have children. So there's less irresponsibility, instead more responsibility. And what if that child like me get grown at 53 and have to come back home? And what if that child like me get grown at 53 and have to come back home? But either way, you know from your growing up that kids are ruthless and they will pick at you. This is why they have church backpack giveaways. Because that child on my sandwich, they ain't got a clean backpack. That's why they have coat giveaways. They ain't got a clean coat. They at least need to have a coat, and it need to be giveaways. Because the earth is the Lord in this original he started. But we in a capitalistic country, and I just had this conversation with a nice little. So let's say 12 of it goes to the manufacturing, the building, the employees, but I'm making $12 to $15 profit. I'm making 100% profit every time that I'm just capping and putting in the bank. And so now in 1 year, and if that company stays in existence another 100 years, I'm just gonna continue to be centillionaire. I'm gonna be a centrillionaire. Hey, I'm gonna be a centrillionaire. But centillionaire. I'm gonna be a centrillionaire. Hey, I'm gonna be a centrillionaire. But cities, you passing by 10 cities, you don't hug them. You're a billionaire. You passing by 10 cities and you don't nurse them back to health. You're a billionaire. And you passing by 10 cities for free. You just got here first and staked a claim. Here's a dance. A house to rent. I'm living at my mom's house because I can't get a house to rent. Because of credit system. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm telling you now, I'm not. Y'all vote. People voted, and in a fair system, Trump became president. So be it. In a fair system, Trump became president. So in high school, you voted for class leaders. In a fair system, somebody becomes president. I got that. No problem. That's fine. All right. So let him have his 4 years, his due diligence. Let's see what he can do. Okay. But my thing is, people can go to other countries, getting rid of house, credit system. You want to change something. You want to cut something. You cutting federal jobs. You need to cut some of this credit bull. Because if a person got a job and they work hard and they're a decent citizen, get them a chance to get a car. Get them a chance to get a house. And I'm very, very frustrated with all the billions of dollars that went in a car bailout. And I wasn't thinking back then, but all the billions of dollars that went into a car bailout, out of that money, they was able to buy the metals they need, buy the tools they need, stay afloat, continue to make cars that they turn around and making 100% profit of, and they didn't even put the money into it. That's robbery. And that was U.S. taxpayers, citizens' money, not no one person. This is not no hierarchy, monarchy. This is not no kingdom. We're not in Europe. This is not no king, priest, prime minister. This is not that system. This is a voted on tax-paying system. So what should have happened out of those billions of dollars was 100,000 cars should have been given freely to people who need them. Once in your life, you get a free car. You can tear it up. You can use it for positive. You can use it for negative. That's up to you. But since we're going to bail you out, we're going to keep y'all afloat. Now your employees get to keep working. You get to get them a raise. Now, it used to be a car back in the 80s and 90s called a Yugo. Sort of looked like a Fiat I had. But I think it was a 2-seater. Little bitty car. It sold for like $3,000. You don't see them no more. American made, somebody came up with the idea we're going to make a quick little cheap car so people can get around. That money should have been, you don't just give it to them and don't require something back from them. Them cars is in production and out here on the road today that was made off money that y'all bailed them out from, and what happened with it? And I ain't mad at Obama. I still love him. I'm just speaking a fact. Thank God for Obama. Thank God he bailed them out. We don't pray. I praise you. Nobody they pick at him just because of the color of his skin, but nobody said, you know what, man, we thank you because you bailed us out. We had legitimate businesses and you gave us money to bail out auto industry to keep us afloat, that we didn't go under. So he deserves the highest praise for that. But he also should have thought, What we gonna do with all these cars y'all created? Can we relax this? You know what? So what? I walk in and ain't got no job and ain't got no money. I signed the dotted line and I'm gonna pay you. If I don't pay you, gonna come get it either way. So the credit system is crap. Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, it's crap. Ever since I've been born on this earth, from day one, from Jump Street at North Carolina Central, when people in college and freshmen supposed to be able to walk around and get a credit card when you were a freshman in college, I applied for a car and tried to get a credit card and couldn't get it now. And they told me from day one my credit stank. From day one. Had never used my credit at 18, and they told me I couldn't do nothing with it. That's a broken, failed, evil, ugly, demonic, devilish, should be shut down system. There should be no homeless people in America. Shouldn't be no tent cities in America. And yes, Trump is a good president if he wants to bring factories back. Because it's time for factories to come back. Anything America don't have, we need to import in and pay them for it. And anything America do have, we need to build here in America so we can hire some people who don't have no job. Because we're trying to go all robotic. Well then, if you go all 100% robotic, where are you going to make your income from? How are you going to buy food? How are you going to pay for electricity? How are you going to pay for cable? And God forbid if you can't pay for that phone. Y'all got to think, man. Y'all got to think. So you run around here calling me a Jezebel. Ain't no makeup on my face, even though I want to wear some makeup. I definitely need to enhance myself. Well, let me just break down what Jezebel is. Jezebel was a physical woman who tried to order her husband to do something against God's will. I don't have a husband, so I'm not a Jezebel. And I don't have to obey nobody but God. God is my husband, man. Until he sees fit to find me one physically here on earth. And if he don't never give me another one, then God is my husband. So I'm not a Jezebel. So you can take your stinking dogs back in the house. Because they not eating me up. And that song y'all got going on TikTok today, Eeny, Meeny, Mighty Mo, you want money? I don't need it. I don't want your money. I'm like Bachelorette in Paradise. I am free agent. Waiting, believing, hoping to receive what God got for me. Now, Esther, I'll say that I got my theology. I believe that, though, because at the time I was reading that word because I was a woman and I wanted to preach about things about good women in the word. And I believed it, and I fasted for 7 days with no food and no water, and I trusted God. But you know what? Esther didn't go looking for a man. The man came to her. In fact, she was there against her will and against what she wanted to be. She didn't want to be there. But her uncle reminded her, who's to say you're not here for such a time as this? Now, I may not want to be here. In fact, I just said it yesterday. Because I'm not thriving here. And I'll take away the hat of Esther, the mantle, the queen, and all of that. And I'll just lay flat-footed and be Latanja. I got 3 grown, beautiful kids and an extra married in. I got 3 beautiful grandbabies, a big stomach. I'm 53. I'm a grandma, and I'm still fine. Y'all done stressed the you-know-what out of me. I became a licensed minister in 2012. You told me women couldn't preach. You did a witch hunt, as President Trump would say. And I encouraged myself. I encouraged myself in 2013 because when I first left my husband and moved into my apartment, I was walking around in Walmart paying bills at 2 houses. Because I chose the left, and I used to be the one to pay all the bills. So I said, I'm going to pay bills until I can't do no better. Kids in college, one in high school, and God rest. I hate I left him. I hate it. He deserves the best. If I had money, he deserves the best because I left him at 14. But you know what? I hate I did that. But I walked around in Walmart one night and trying to go, no TV, no cable, couldn't afford it. My mom or my dad gave me a little square old TV and an antenna, and I had a DVD player. So I bought some cheap DVDs because at the time Walmart had 3 for $10, or my daddy might have gave me some old DVDs. In fact, I'm lying. There was a pawn shop, and you could get like 10 used DVDs for $1. So I got the movie Invincible with Mark Wahlberg. Love that movie because it's a movie about a black sheep rising to the top. A person that did not become a pro football player through the normal ranks of playing a high school football and then playing college football. No, this was about an Italian man in Philadelphia who his dad was being laid off at the steel mill. Money was funny. He was working at a bar serving drinks. The Philadelphia Eagles was doing a terrible job, and I love Eagles. They were doing a terrible job. They were losing. It was snowing, and the new coach decided, I'm going to open up tryouts for anybody that want to come. And this man, I think his name was Vince Papale, he decided, all of his friends at the bar said, that's you on the news. They heard it. You need to go try out, Vince. And so Vince went down there to try out. And of course, being older age, he was slower, not as good as the young black guys that was, and it's not about race, but there were some younger black guys that came through college and had all the professional training and had all of the muscles and the skills. And they were much faster and they called him Pops. But lo and behold, he was the only one that got chose. You need to go back and look at that movie because I love the story of a black sheep. Because I'm going to tell you something. God can raise a black sheep from the bottom to the top. He did it for Esther. Esther in the Bible, her name was Hadassah. She was a Jew. Or a child of God. Because we don't know. I ain't going to go there right now. I could say something, but I'm not going to go there. And she was hated on, but God raised her to the top. And so in this, she was hated on, but God raised her to the top. And so in this